Hey guys and girls, it's Blackjack with 396 guitars. We have a Tokai on the bench today. It's a Les Paul type instrument. Throwback Japanese. They call it a Love Rock instead of a Les Paul. So let's get to work. It's in for a restring and a setup. Basic stuff. There we go. Sorry about that. Set up. They're actually well-built instruments. Off camera, I checked a few things. These are loose. All of his pointers on the volume and the tone pot seem to be moving, which means they're loose. The pots are loose. Looking at the restring job on it, there's probably 50 wraps and they're overlapping and on top of each other. Yeah. That's all what it is. What it is what it is. Not my job for sure. The pickup selector is loose always. I have checked a few things off camera. We're just going to do a restring and a setup on this today, but I check everything. We have no clearance on the bridge, on the high E, so our stop bar is too low. Always check, that's what I do, check before you start so you know where you're at before you get going. Let's tune it and see where we're at. I actually started to tune it off camera, and I realized I shouldn't have done that because there, you heard it, tink. There it is. Yeah, that one too. Yeah, they're all. So yeah, we got to clean out the nut slots, and we're gonna check all the saddles. It was tinking up here as soon as I tightened it. Basic setup procedure for me is always put a little dollop of lube at all of our string points, our takeoff points, saddles, and nut slots. It could be just that it sat for a long time and the strings are a little corroded. They don't look terrible, but they are catching in the nut slots. So you definitely want to just look at it and make a mental note, get after it. These are 10s. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah. This client always uses 10s. Pretty sure I got a set of 10s in here somewhere. Yeah. 3 balls. I want to check, as I always say, check. Wow, really beefy neck. I love these old Tokais. They're really well-built guitars, believe it or not. And, you can debate that ad nauseum at your pleasure, but they're really well-built guitars. Ooh, yeah, way too straight. Client, by his own admission, it hasn't been worked on in a long time, and it's overdue. Neck relief is way too straight. Check that stuff before you get started. That way you know where you're going. Before I forget, just snug up the hardware. Once we get the strings off, I'll check the tuners and make sure that they're nice and snug. Where is our string height? Knowing that our neck is too straight, I'm going to assume that the string action is really probably way too close. Yeah, it's below 4/64, 3, and yeah, even below 3. So if it's not buzzing, I'd be surprised. Yep. Yeah, it's definitely in need of a setup. So let's get the strings off. I'll be right back. I'm not going to, the noise from the machine, and not going to bore you with de-stringing it. Let's get those off. And I'm not going to adjust the truss rod until we get the new strings on. And we're going to do all the adjustments at once. So stand by. Okay, so we got the strings off, and I'm just going through and cleaning up the frets. They're not in bad shape at all, like a 1500 sanding pad. It's just a Scotch-Brite, call it what you want. Really fine. I mean, it's just to pull off the outer layer of tarnish and goop and DNA and fender stuff. Yeah, no. Yeah, you can go, it's referred to Epiphone, fret leveling, crown, and polish. There's, yeah, you can do 100 million steps on frets. It all depends on what they need, and this guitar is not bad. It's just got a little tarnish on them, that's all. This is what I do as part of standard, you know, restring and setup. Because you can, and usually because it needs it. I'm not just going to put new strings on a dirty frets. Who knows the last time that was done? Right? Many of you have seen this. You know what my procedure is, but I do this on every restring and setup. The board, yeah, of course. I'm going to show it all. Why not? It's been a while since I did. Linseed oil. And if you think it doesn't need it, or you can't remember when it was done last, you know, your fingerboard, fretboard needs some love and attention every once in a while. It's what I do. No repairs today, no wild pickup selection, changing, wiring, rebuilds. Today it's just a restring and a setup. But I do this on every restring and setup. Because my client deserves it. And certainly this guitar deserves it. I like to let that sit on there for a little bit anyway, while we're waiting for that to do its magic. This is loose. Let's get it clocked right. And tighten it. Just hold the back. I took the cover off of it. Use a spanner wrench on it. Just give it a snug. That's all it needs. They get loose. Output jacks, toggle switches. He's got his clocked exactly 180 degrees. Okay. I like them to be a little bit more like that, but that's where that one is. So we'll put the cover back on after we get this oil off of here. Apply it, remove it. And you noticed I didn't put a whole bunch. You don't need a whole bunch, but you need some. And if you think it doesn't matter, it does. I mean, You can tell the difference already. Some of the tarnish is coming off those frets. Buff it again in the opposite direction this time. Start at the headstock and work your way down towards the tail. And be mindful to get inside on either side of every fret. That's just maintenance. Once a year. I don't care where you live. Once a year. If you got an exposed fretboard, I don't care what kind of wood it is. As long as if it's clear coated, then you don't do this. You skip this. Right? And then the last step, let's get a clean piece of, I want to buff each fret. Just a paper towel. And it will bring them back up to a shine. Yep. That's all this one needed. Is there guitars that come in that need a lot more than that? Of course. But not today. Not this one. Yeah, some of the tarnish comes off. Cleaned it. Cleaned it. It's nice and clean now. And the frets are polished to the extent that they need at this moment. To the extent that they need at this moment. I don't even see any striations on these frets. They're in absolutely pristine condition and nice and smooth fret ends. I mean, as smooth as they can be, you know. If there was a problem with the fret ends, it would have caught the paper towel and there would have been little fluffies everywhere. That's how I know, oh, we got to dress the fret ends, but not on this girl. Alright, so we tightened that, cleaned the frets, oiled the board. Let's get this back on there. If your guitar tech isn't doing this stuff for you, get a different guitar tech. Sorry to tell you. If your luthier isn't doing this stuff. I don't call myself a luthier. I call myself a guitar tech. Well, one of these days, the tree in the front yard might get hit by lightning and I'll go and take that piece of wood and turn it into a guitar. Then I can officially call myself a luthier. You could debate that. Tighten all your hardware. Not now, when. Right? Probably hasn't had a screwdriver on it in 30 years. Almost every single one of them was loose. Pretty nice guitar. I want to do this while I'm thinking of it because I checked when I first got the guitar, and all of the pointers on the volume and tone knobs were moving. All I did was push on it lightly, and that means that all of the pots are loose. And yeah. Same old, if not now, when? I'm going to show you one, then off camera I'm going to do them all, because all four of them are loose. Special tool. Get under there and try to get all the way to the inside part of the knob. Tug a little bit, turn it, tug, and that should convince it to come right off, right? That way, don't tug on the outside part of it. Try to get on the very inside. That's where the meat is. And we're going to clock them in this orientation. I'll do the first one and then copy all of them off of that one. And that will be actually number 10 pointing right there as if it were turned all the way up. Now, I believe these, it might be 12. I don't think they're 13. It's probably 12 because it's, well, Japanese. It is not 13 and it is not 12. I don't know why it would have a standard size on it, but 13 will work. So, same as this, you want to hold the back and then just give it a snug. And be careful not to over tighten. That's all it needed. It was about a quarter of a turn, but now the pointer can't move. He probably didn't even know that it was loose. When you go back, make sure it's turned all the way up and get your number 10 pointing right at the pointer. Yahtzee. I'm going to pause while I do the other ones just to save a little video time. So we tightened all of those up, cleaned a little bit, wiped it down. Yeah, I'm going to get ready to restring it. This is how I do it. You guys can do it any way you like. Make sure you inspect your bridge and saddle assembly. There isn't any burrs or goop or anything that doesn't need to be on those saddles. And, I'll show you in a second. We'll put some lube on there. Pretty simple procedure. We got comments and questions and requests. Just show a simple restring. Well, in my book, there's really never such a thing. I always find something on almost every guitar that hits the bench that needs a little bit of attention. I.e., that was loose. These were all loose. So fix it. Cleaned up the frets, oiled the board. It's never just a restring. Yeah, okay. You want me to just throw strings on your guitar? I don't believe in it, number one. I like to clean up my customers' instruments. And I do whatever it needs. You know, things get loose. These were all loose up here. All right, Tune It Lube. Some of you have seen this. I'm going to show you the first little bit of it. It's just, that's the product I use. I put a little dollop on the bench. And then I take a toothpick. Just a little bit on the end of the toothpick, and in each saddle. It doesn't take a lot. Don't glop it in there. Just a little bit. That's all it takes. And if you don't have this, use a pencil. Graphite lube. Graphite is a natural lubricant. Just put a little bit of pencil in there. Right? And you know my favorite saying, if you think it doesn't matter, it doesn't need it, well, yes, it does. And it does matter. And then when you get all done and all the strings are on, you're just going to take a cloth and wipe it there and wipe it there. All the good stuff where it needs to be is under the string, so that at every takeoff point it can move. You don't realize, but strings move. They move over the saddle and they move over the nut whenever you're playing the guitar. It's small. It's not like they're really moving, but they do. And that's why you put a little bit of lube on there. You follow? All right. And again, if your guitar tech isn't doing this stuff for you, get a different guitar tech. There's no such thing as just throwing new strings on a guitar. Yeah, I suppose. It'll play. It's going to play right? Probably not. Oh, by the way, measure to the next peg, put a bend in the string, and that's how you know where to stop. The first wrap goes above the string hole. All other wraps go below. You should have at least one on top and a minimum of one underneath. Usually two underneath. Bend your string up out of the way. Make sure you're in the saddle. You're not cockeyed one side or the other. And look at your wraps. Neatness counts. You want one above and all the rest below. Just bring it up to tension. That's all you need to do. And then snip it off. Now, if you're not used to doing this 100 times a day, leave a little extra string on there just in case. If you make a mistake and you have to pull them off, you'll have enough left over there to restring it back through. Once you snip it off, you're done. That's where it's going to live and that's where it's going to stay, and you can't put them back in once you snip it off. Stand by. Okay, so strings are all on. Now, of course, you tune up the pitch. Make sure my tuner's on. Volume's up, middle position. Get it up to pitch, or as close as you can, because the next step, boy, I'm getting good at this. It's almost like I've done it before. It was really close. Hold at the first fret with your thumb and just tug. This does a couple of things. It kind of stretches the string, pre-stretches them, and it also seats your string in the saddle, and it seats it in the nut slot. Then retune. They should all go flat a little bit. Yep. And then take a little bit of paper towel, like I said, and just like that, and like that. And that's all you do is wipe off any excess lube that we had on there. You're not taking it off, but the stuff that needs to be on there is under the string, and it's lubing that takeoff point there and there, right? So make sure now you're tuned as close to perfect as possible. Here at this juncture is usually where I check intonation. It's as good a time as any. Make sure you're tuned to pitch. Check your harmonic at the 12th and fret it. Good. All you're checking is harmonic here. Oh. That's a little flat. No, we're good. Beautiful. I like it. Okay. I thought the A was flat, but it was still the string is stretching. So intonation is good. Now, before you go to checking neck relief again and string height, make sure, because I know when we started, that was really tight there. And when we had all this off, I actually pulled that stop bar post up a whole turn. And now we have our clearance. All you need is to be able to put a piece of paper underneath the string. When it comes from the stop bar up over the saddle, you don't want it touching the back of the bridge. That's a point where it can actually catch and cause tuning stability or instability issues. And usually 9 times out of 10, it's why your high E or your B will snap or break, because it's catching on there. You don't want it touching that. And all you have to do is use a piece of paper. If a piece of paper goes under it, you're clear. You have clearance. So, back to what we started with, which is, I'm pretty certain this is a little too tight. It was when we started. We're going to check it again. Yeah, it's too tight. So, you capo at the first fret and you hold at either the body joint or the 17th fret in that area, and then you use a 12 thousandths feeler gauge at the 7th fret, 7th, 8th in that area. And what that's doing is checking the measurement of our neck relief. And I know this one is a little tight, so we're going to adjust it. In other words, the neck is too straight right now. You have to have an acceptable, measurable amount of relief in the neck. And that is 12 thousandths. 5/16 or 8 millimeter. Now, as you're facing, you're looking at the headstock right here, right? To the right, if we go to the right, it's going to tighten the truss rod and straighten it or put a backbone in it. If you turn it to the left, it's going to put relief in it or loosen it. And we need to go to the left. And usually it won't take much more than an 1/8 or 1/4 of a turn on this guitar. I'm familiar with these instruments, and they're pretty accurate. They're pretty responsive. Go in small increments. Don't start putting 2 or 3 turns on it, because you'll get so far away from where you need to be that you'll forget and you'll lose track of what you're doing. This is a big mystery to a lot of people, but it's pretty basic if you know what you're doing. Make your adjustment, then check your measurement. You want your feeler gauge to just slide between the top of the fret and the bottom of the string. And it should slide in there easily and usually make a little bit of a scraping noise. I want to put just the slightest little turn on it, a little bit more. And yeah, that much matters. Perfect. It's just enough for the feeler gauge to slide into that crevice between the top of the fret and the bottom of the string. You don't want it to have to push it in there. If you're pushing it in there, you're actually lifting the string. It needs a little bit more space. That's the measurable amount of relief. And retune. Now remember, when we started, the string action was really, really close, too low. So we were getting some buzzing. So after that, we have actually put a little bit of relief in it. So now the neck has a little bit more relief in it. So that's going to make that distance for our string height a little bit taller, and it may have gotten us where we need to be, but again, check it, measure it. What I'm looking for is just over 4/64 here. So I want it to show for the whole line of 4/64. If we get to 5/64, it's too much for this kind of guitar, for a Les Paul. Remember, we were at 3. So right now, just by that measurement, we made our string height adjustment. Because on a tune-o-matic, you can only put the bass side or the treble side up or down. So my guess is at some juncture in this guitar's life, somebody had set that. But over time, the neck relief can change on its own with weather changes, humidity, things like that. How dry or humid it is, wood will change. I'm going to roll with that. I think that's nice. We're just over 4/64 and right at 4/64 there. And on a Les Paul, that's where you need to be. A Fender, completely different. I would be at 5/64 all the way across. I digress. Next little measurement, our pickup height, and yeah, like they're so close, there's actually a mark. Yeah, it's actually touching. They're so close. These pickups are almost touching the strings. You want 1/8 on the bass side and 3/32 on the treble side. And yeah, we use a feeler gauge for that, a different kind of feeler gauge. I had one of his guitars in here not too long ago, and the string was actually banging off of the pickup ring. In other words, once I set the height for the pickup ring itself, the mounting ring was actually still, and I think we might have the same issue here. Let's see. I can live with that. I can live with that. Where are we? No, this one is just getting by. The neck pickup is actually recessed a little bit past the ring, but it's acceptable. The last one I had was not. I had to source out a shorter set of pickup mounting rings for that particular guitar. That was actually a Les Paul or Gibson. This one's close, but it's okay. It's at just the point of acceptable. And yeah, the theory behind magnetic pickup height. They are magnetic. They operate in a magnetic field. If it's too close to the string, it will choke your sound. If it's too far away from your string, it won't pick it up. There's a sweet spot, a happy spot, and that's what those measurements are for. And you hold the last fret and just get under the string. Perfect. Perfect. I like it. So we did our intonation. We did our pickup height. We did our string height, and we did our neck relief. This guitar actually, and we adjusted the stop bar, and we tightened up all his pots. They were, all four of them were loose. His three-way toggle switch was loose, and his hardware here was loose. And oh, by the way, all of his tuning machines were loose in the back. But we're done now. We cleaned the frets, we oiled the board. This guitar is ready to play. And let's see if I can't make a little sound. This is a really nice guitar. Checking for buzzing. If you're gonna, you know, when you have your action low, if you're buzzing in this area or this area, it's going to tell you different things about your setup. I always say, yeah, you can have your action low, and this one's low. It's at the low end of the spectrum for what I would set up. If your instrument will bear it, that's fine. That's great. You know, if it doesn't, well, we have room to come up. But this guitar is flying high. It is ready to go back to the client. It's Blackjack with 396 guitars, a Tokai Love Rock. Let's just call it a Les Paul. We'll talk soon. Remember, if you dig what I'm doing, like and subscribe, and by all means, share.